Hi, I'm Bud. Welcome to Kimba's Kingdom, the home of everything Kimba the White Lion. On this channel, I'm hoping to connect with fellow Kimba fans like you. So if there's something you'd like to see more of, or less of, let me know in the comments. I want to make the best videos I can for you guys. Today's video is part of a series exploring the elements it takes to make a great animated series or comic, using the example of Kimba the White Lion, my personal favourite animated series of all time. Specifically, this video will be about the techniques Kimba uses to convey a visual story on a low budget, and how you can apply these techniques to your own comics or animation projects. Perhaps the single most powerful technique you can use is colour. Colours can evoke deep emotions within us. Colour the sky red and make the background black or orange rocks, and your audience will instantly feel the sense of danger. Draw an overcast sky and have everything in the image lighted with a slight dark blue tint, and your audience will instantly feel sad and contemplative. Cover everything in bright golden yellow sunshine and your audience will feel instantly joyous and carefree. I admit I am cheating a bit by including colour, because at the time Kimba was released it most definitely wasn't a cost-cutting technique. Kimba was the first ever Japanese animated series in full colour, and at the time that wasn't exactly cheap. But nowadays colour is everywhere, and you can easily include it in your own comic or animated project. Plus, Kimba still uses a lot of the same techniques with colour that we use to cut costs today, so I still feel justified in including it. The key to using colour effectively is this: abandon realism. The great thing about the medium of animation and drawing in general is you don't have to just copy-paste real life. You can create literally anything you want and put it on screen. If you want the sky to suddenly change colour, it can happen. If you want the outline of a character to be visible through smoke or in pitch black lighting, it can happen. So take full advantage of that medium's capabilities. Don't think of your drawings as just a camera for capturing scenes exactly as they'd appear in life. Think of them more like an infographic, trying to summarize all the characters, the interactions, the emotions, the experiences, and the environment of the scene in a clear, simple, and abstract visual way. So if your character is angry, for example, instead of drawing your character's face white because his fur's white, draw his face red because he's angry. What you've just done is summarize a complicated and central emotion in the scene into a single colour, yet it still tells the audience everything they need to know. You can save yourself the need to draw detailed expressions and to show long sequences showing the danger or silliness of a situation by simply using non-realistic colours to convey those feelings instead. Over the course of a whole animated series or comic, that can save a lot of time and money. Besides colour, another technique you can use is what I'm going to call focusing in on a specific detail of a scene. There are a number of ways to do this. For example, in a fight scene, you might focus on just the characters' shadows on the wall as they fight with each other, or you might show a close-up of a character's paw swiping, or a close-up of a nearby object being knocked over when a character stumbles into it. Perhaps you might show a close-up of a character's shocked, fearful, or aggressive expression. The key here is to convey the same amount of information. In this case, that the two characters are fighting, that it's getting pretty brutal, and that character A is winning. But while showing a lot less stuff on the screen, you just get across the key information and that's it. You might say, why not show the whole scene at once, but use fewer frames, and that's a good question. You'd think that would convey even more about the scene and save just as much time and money as focusing in. But there is actually something crucial missing when you cut out frames like this, and that's a sense of motion. In animation, and even in a comic, you have to devote enough frames to a fight scene to create a sense of flow. You can't just have a picture of two characters clawing at each other and then suddenly jump to a picture of one character crashing into a tree. You have to show the transitional part where the character is grabbed and thrown, or the viewer can't get sucked into the action. Focusing in on specific details like close-ups and shadows preserves this sense of flow and majorly cuts time and therefore costs, while still communicating everything you need to know about what's happening in the scene, and that's why Kimba the White Lion uses it so frequently. The final technique Kimba uses to work within a low budget and say more with less is a bit more abstract and harder to define, but just as critical, using symbolism. Essentially what I mean by symbolism is using something abstract and simple to draw, usually an object, to represent a complex idea that you're trying to convey. For example, if you're trying to show that two cars collided, instead of showing the full car crash with all the details that would require, you could show two cars approaching each other and then draw a ball of fire. Or if you're trying to convey that a location is unforgiving and nothing comes out alive, instead of showing a costly scene of an animal being hunted and killed, you could just show some bones half buried in the sand to establish the same thing. One caveat here is that symbolism does tend to be less impactful than the actual thing. Not always. For example, when the music box was used to symbolize that Kimba's mother had drowned, that was, in my opinion, much more powerful than it would have been to just see her drowning. But that's the exception rather than the rule. Usually it will affect the audience more if you give them a whole scene devoted to an idea rather than just a symbolic image. So if it's a central key moment or idea in your story, give it a whole scene. But if you're just establishing a location or trying to convey a piece of information the audience will need later, use symbolism if you can rather than devoting a whole scene to it. It will save time and money and helps the audience focus more on your main point. That's all for now, fellow animals. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you won't miss a thing. If there's something Kimba related you'd like to see a video about, leave a comment. I'd love to hear your suggestions. I might look ferocious, but I don't bite, promise.